Alright, GM everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on One-on-One with CoinAfrica. With us here we have Franklin Peters, the crypto Web3 visionary and expert in the field. He has been in the system for more than 10 years and he has led countless projects. He's also the CEO of Boundless Pay. But aside from this, he is also a pro trader and he is also a preacher, an educator, a mentor. He has spoken at various public events, blockchain and non-blockchain aside. He's also leading the board of Virtual Asset Service Providers Association, which is an African or Pan-African association for key players in the blockchain industry. Thank you so much for joining us, Franklin Peters.
Thank you.
It's excited to be here.
Thank you.
All right, so of the book, who is Franklin Peters? Beyond the titles and headlines, most people know you as the founder of Blockchain Vibes and CEO of Boundless Pay. Who is Franklin Peters away from crypto, self, and conferences?
Okay, Franklin Peters is just, I'll say, should I use the word basic? You know, I'm like every other person in the crypto space. I'm a guy who started life very early, right? At the age of 15, I already knew that my environment wasn't like the way everything was playing out wasn't exactly what I wanted for myself. I wanted something bigger, I wanted tech. I knew that there was future in technology, right? I started researching. I'm this guy who, I'm a family man, I'll put it that way. I'm a curious person, right? I don't want to tell the story of how I got into this space yet, because I know you're going to get there. But yeah, I'm a very curious person. I'm a Christian, I'm an Abian man. I'm proud to say that I'm an Abian.
Yeah.
You know, I said it's doing great.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We are both from Abia.
Exactly. Good to have you here.
Yeah.
yeah. So outside the whole titles and crypto, I'm just a passionate person who likes building.
Okay.
I like exploring. I like solving problems. I like helping people as much as I can.
That's interesting. Thanks for giving us that intro. Some persons may not even know of your personal life, which you just shared. Maybe some don't know that you're married. I think it's mostly people in this space that know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then, so now, looking back, what problem were you trying to solve when you first entered blockchain industry?
Yeah, so I like telling this story because, I mean, it forms a foundation, the core basic foundation of everything I represent right now in the space. Right, 2010, I was blogging. I used to be a blogger. Yeah. There are multiple blogs then. There was, Blogspot, Google Blogspot, which was the original platform that Dike blew up with. There were other blogs, and there's something called click to view, different ways people could make money if you own a blog. So I used some of those platforms. I made money off the platform. I couldn't cash it out because there was this error. This service, the payment gateway is not available in your location. The platform they use for cashing out your earnings was only available to Europeans, Americans, and some other countries, but not available to Africans, right? So I tried everything I could. Of course, the internet wasn't as vast as it is today. Where you probably have friends that you can reach out to help you to cash out money. So at the time, after trying, I abandoned the money, and that's how I lost that money. Maybe if I was able to cash out the fund, maybe I would have continued with blogging, maybe I would have become one of the biggest bloggers, but that messed up that passion for me at the time. In 2014, I tried to buy some Bitcoins, my first set of Bitcoins. Of course, I saw some random platforms and people that wanted to sell, but I didn't trust them enough as much as I trusted a Coinbase at the time. I went on Coinbase and tried to sign up. The service was not available to people in my location. Again, that reminded me of my experience in 2010. And as of then, I was studying computer science. I'm an engineer. And one thing that we are known for as engineers is solving problems, especially the ones that every other person is having. So I decided I was going to solve that problem. I was going to create a platform that would allow people to cash out their earnings on any blog, any website, and a platform where people can buy and sell cryptocurrencies easily as Africans, right? And it led me to carry out some research, and I eventually came up with an exchange. The name was BitFXT. So that exchange, was one of the first order book exchanges, because I incorporated a couple of things you could trade before. Trading was just you using Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. It was more of volatile coin against volatile coin. Doge, you can use Bitcoin to buy Doge. You understand? Before, USDT Theta was available but not popular, not as liquid. You understand?
Yeah.
There was the likes of black coin, there was feather coin, there was peer coin.
There was one coin.
There was one coin. One coin. Lots of coins out there, and all of them, you couldn't use Naira to buy them. Of course, there were other exchanges randomly that started popping up here and there, but BitFXT the goal was to build a Bitrex for Nigerians. Okay. So fast forward to 2017, 2018, Binance popped up, started offering their services, became the fastest growing exchange. Bitrex within a few years became like number one, because then there was Bitfinex was the biggest in Asia. Bitrex was the biggest, should I say, in Europe or America. Poly, I don't know if you remember.
Polygon.
No. There was another exchange called Poly something, right? Was also another big exchange, but Binance came and beat everybody to the game and started expanding rapidly. Came into Nigeria, started hiring everybody. Started became a big deal. And fast forward to 2021, we knew we could not compete with our own resources anymore. We had to try to raise some fund. We eventually pulled that from the fund, and I pivoted into Boundless Pay, which is what we've been carrying on since 2021 until now. So yeah, that's my long story.
I like that. It's so interesting that Binance originally came from Bitfinex, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Binance came on its own. CZ it works with OKX.
Okay, sorry,
yes,
okay,
yes,
sorry. Okay, yeah, okay.
For about 1 year or less.
Before he started here.
Yes.
Okay, so but then you talked about the fundraising that happened in 2021.
Yes.
I know we've had a conversation about this before, but I think you need to throw some light for some people to understand some things relating to fundraising and why you pulled out from that one.
Okay. Fundraising, if you're building a business that transcends just your friends, family, and people around you, you're building a global business, you definitely need fund. And of course, you can start off with your own personal fund and a few family friends, but at some point, your growth will require that you raise fund. For us at the time, we had already grown beyond just what my personal fund and a few people around could handle. And like I said, there was fierce competition. Binance was in Nigeria, Huobi was in Nigeria, all the Asian exchanges were all OKX was in, all of them were all coming to hire Nigerian talents. And one funny thing that was happening then was that, if you remember, between 2019 to 2021, every other month there was a new update in blockchain and crypto. Either Bitcoin there's something called Bitcoin BP something, right? BIP. You understand? Bitcoin improvement proposal. Maybe then that was a period that there was Bitcoin fork, and Bitcoin Cash came out, Bitcoin Gold came out, normal Bitcoin Core came out. So for those of us that were not funded, then we had all my developers were Indians. You understand? I paid them in dollars, and I paid them per hour. The story is long because there was no Nigerian talent then available for you that you can really hand over this kind of. Most of us that built them, we relied on international talent. So those updates within 48 hours to 1 week, Binance have rolled out their own updates. Other exchanges, we are like, will say, oh, Lightning Network is now live in Binance. For us, that we don't have the luxury of money to hire a lot of developers then, right? The few foreign developers working for you, you are paying them weekly, daily, or per hour. That upgrade may take 1 month, right? And it would definitely affect your customers because maybe some things will not be working the way they should and all that. So at some point, when you know that your personal, you cannot expand beyond some level, you need to raise funds as a business. So now, when it comes to fundraising, there are stages: pre-seed, seed, series A, B, C, until you IPO.
Until IPO.
Exactly. Or until you get sold.
Until you get your exit strategy.
Exactly. So so what we raised then was a seed round, that we attempted raising them. So you have to start reaching out to investors, maybe foreign investors. In fact, that period there were lots of interest in Nigerian and African startups. Every other day you would see an announcement. Oh, so business has raised $2 million, $5 million. Unfortunately, those days are
kind of
history. It doesn't happen anymore because for some reason, I think I have a couple of reasons to what caused that. One major reason is that most Nigerian startups, let me not say Africa, of course, it's the general thing, but most Nigerian startups that raise money then they messed up the opportunity. 1 year after, 2 years after, this startup have shut down, the other one have abandoned the project and all that. So that's number one. It gave the investors bad taste of Nigeria, of investing in Nigeria. Second thing is that our currency devalued, right? Imagine you invested in a business with $10 million at the exchange rate then was 380 naira per dollar, and 3 years down the line you've not exited, right? $1 is now worth what do you call it, 1,500, right? So it kind of dilutes the value of your money. I don't know if you understand. The startups, so that also affected the economy, became uninvestable to a good extent. You understand? That's the second reason. The third reason is policies. Every now and then the Nigerian government was after and against our industry, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Multiple times founders and players have been arrested. In fact, there was a famous story of Tigran, what's the name of the Gambian or whatever. The Binance compliance. They were invited to Nigeria for a meeting or whatever brought them to Nigeria, and they were arrested. And the two of them literally spent like 2 years or 1 year in Nigerian prison. Yes. So all those things gave a bad taste to investors. So they think very deeply. In fact, the likes of Y Combinator and the rest hardly invest in Nigeria. A lot of investors, apart from that too, I think the fourth reason, Bitcoin bear market lasted for a long period of time, and that affects investors' confidence as well. Most crypto investors that we are extensively, reaching out to Nigerian projects, a lot of them got bonds, right? A lot of them got bonds. FTX happened, remember?
I remember.
SBF, and a lot of businesses shut down. A lot of investors lost money. A lot of them were keeping money in and Bitcoin went up. So there are so many reasons that messed that up. But
well, that's the story, and the story for a lot of founders here in Nigeria. So far, Africa consistently ranks among the world's highest crypto adoption regions, even for stablecoin utility and all of that. Why do you think crypto has found such a strong product market fit here?
Yeah, I think because of the composition of the did you say Nigeria, Africa?
Africa.
Yes, it's because of the composition of African, would I say, economy. A lot of Africa as a developing continent still have a lot of things yet to be done in terms of standardization of payments, which is one of the core use cases of crypto or blockchain, right? If you go to a place like Europe, okay, things as simple as virtual card or ATM, their normal bank ATM card works on every website. You understand? If you want to shop, simple tapping of your card on a POS device, payment is done. Right? If you go to a place like China, there is WeChat, there is Alipay. People hardly even touch cash, but the payments work across the country. What you call it? Their internet is already sorted, and all that. If you go to Middle East, their banking system is already also sorted. But when it comes to Africa, I'm not saying that our banking system is not solid. Matter of fact, Nigeria has one of the best banking infrastructure.
True.
Globally. East Africa also have one of the best in terms of Momo and the mobile money thing. M-Pesa thing.
Before Kenya.
Yes. So I think in that sense, should I say, each country have what works for them, right? But where the problem comes is the fragmentation of payments across Africa. The Nigerian system works for the Nigerian people. The M-Pesa thing works across East Africa, and so on and so forth. But if you go to Europe, it's Europe. Whether I'm in Germany or in Germany, or I'm in France, Paris, or I'm in Spain, right?
In the Schengen countries,
the entire Schengen country, I'm spending euro. The same euro, I just send money to you and you receive it. But sending money from Nigeria to Ghana,
you
understand? Yes, there are so many solutions or platforms coming to solve these problems now, but it has only become much easier now that stablecoin has become a thing. When stablecoins and blockchain was not in the picture, you still have to find a way around, incorporating in those different countries to be able to have a unified system that works across across Africa. So blockchain, like I said now, with stablecoins have now made it easy for different platforms to create payment orchestration system, whereby you don't need to have all those fragmented currencies as a payment platform to be able to settle payments. Okay, you only need to have a unified wallet, a single wallet with your stable coin, and you can pay out in those countries. There's a way we do it. Blockchain has solved that problem.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that there is a need to have a unified currency for cross-border, especially within Africa. Yeah, so I think that, and also I think together with that, no African currency has been bold enough to be able to, be a major currency that works
It can't even work.
Yeah.
It can't even work because our GDPs and purchasing power parity across Africa, there's a huge imbalance, right? If there happens to be one unified currency across Africa, Nigeria is going to swallow the rest of Africa. You understand? Or South Africa would take South Africa part of it, or whatever the case is. There are some countries that will be at huge disadvantage because the ones that have the highest GDP in Africa will be able to take advantage of the rest. Whereas in Europe, you see that most of them are like the difference is not much. Some this is 2% more, 10%, 5% more. But in Africa, compare a Congo with a Nigeria.
So do you see the need for what Gaddafi was trying to do while he was alive?
It was
to have
going
a
to work.
central currency.
You know why it was going to work? Because it was going to be backed by gold.
Yeah.
Africa, most of Africa
has
gold to a good extent, and gold has its global value. What these guys are trying to do now is have a currency that is backed by our different resources. Nigeria has oil. Some countries in Africa don't have gold. They don't have as much. They don't have
natural
oil.
resources.
They don't have a lot of them. Some of them are bringing, because if you go and study the whole plan for, they call it PAPS, not PAPS. They called it Afro or something like that, right? It was bring your own resource to the market. This person brings their own resource to the market. We have one single currency we use to trade across
all of them.
You understand? So if you do your research, you will see that the problem still remains that a lot of countries will suffer.
Yeah. So the reason why I brought this up again is from my experience in Cape Town. Aside from their own local currency, they accept, even in typical supermarkets, locations, lounge, they accept dollars, accept euros, and all of this. So I'm beginning to think that the problem, one, is that no currency in Africa may be able to even hold that ground, because there's still heavy reliance on international currencies. So it's either we had to go, in my own thinking, the Gaddafi route, or then we just have a foreign currency that we all agree to, which is where stablecoins like USDT is coming into the picture.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's good. So now through Boundless Pay, you spend years working on cross-border payments. What do most people outside Africa misunderstand about moving money across the continent? Now we're going outside Africa.
What do they misunderstand?
Yeah, most people outside Africa misunderstand about moving money across the continent. So then I think maybe let's say people outside Africa think about how we move money within Africa. I think that should be.
I've had conversations with people outside Africa, and what most of them think about Africa and how we spend our money, how we move our money, is that we are underbanked, right? We have a lot of unbanked people, and but I like to use the word underbanked, right? And that's their thought.
Are they wrong?
I think they are right.
Okay.
Because my definition of being unbanked and underbanked is that even Nigeria, most of us, myself, yourself, and every other person, is super underbanked. Banking is not just about keeping money and sending money. It's about credit. It's about having access to mortgage. It's about some certain things that we don't even enjoy as Nigerians. A typical American can buy a house with just 10% of the cost of that house. All he needs to do, even in America, in the UK, and most European countries, drop up to 10 to 20% of the cost. The rest will be spread across multiple years. Can be up to 25 years. You know. And as you are working, they are taking the money from there. So you are paying your mortgage every other month or every other, depending on the timeline. But this is not very much available in Nigeria. It's a banking deficit. You understand? It's called credit system deficit that we're experiencing. So I think most of Africa is super underbanked. And then when we look at the general definition of understanding of what being unbanked is, I also still think that a good chunk of Africans, up to 40%, that are living in rural areas, are not as banked as the rest of the people. You understand? Yeah. So yeah, that's it. But I think the way most of these people outside Africa used to look at it have changed over the years. There was a time that banking the unbanked was a big deal. If you come up with a platform and you are categorized in that bucket of banking the unbanked. You
Mhm.
raise funds.
Yeah.
People pay attention to it. Today, you don't even hear it randomly. Nobody talks about banking the unbanked
Okay.
because there are too many platforms
Trying to bank the
unbanked.
So is there something that they still misunderstand about moving money across Africa?
So moving money across Africa is no longer as tough and as difficult than it used to be.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they have not come to that realization yet or not. I think, in my own opinion, that problem in terms of moving money across Africa there are solutions now. Leveraging stable coins, things like what we are doing in Boundless Pay. You have a Boundless Pay application now, you can send money to somebody in Kenya, to someone in Ghana, to someone in South Africa, to someone in UK, US, from your balance, from your Naira balance, from your crypto balance, you can send money to any bank. And that's because of what we call payment orchestration. There are people who have partnered with different banks or payment processors across the world, right? And all they need to do with you is integrate with you and give you access to their network, their rails, right? And you can leverage it to make payments. So I think that problem, there are solutions to it already.
Okay. Now, in line with this question, something popped up in my head. Now, the current CEO of Binance.us, Stephen Gregory, agrees with the notion from the former, I think, US SEC chair, that in the next couple of years or 5 years, Africa would be using one currency and it's going to be a stablecoin. So now, this is something he feels. Do you think he's misunderstanding African market? Or do you think that Africans are not really fully reliant on stablecoins? Africans just need to move money, even if it's within their currencies.
So I think he's correct, 100%. I think in a couple of years, and I've always said this even before now, I think in the next couple of years, people are going to be moving money across Africa with stable coins, but they won't know they are using stable coins.
So those silently disappear to the background.
Yes.
To just be like a normal transaction.
Yes. I'm sending Naira to you. If I send Naira to you, you receive Ghana cedis. In the background, what has changed hands is actually stablecoin. Yes.
Okay, I think that makes sense. So now, moving into stablecoins fully. Stablecoins have become one of the fastest growing crypto use cases globally. How do you see stablecoins transforming commerce and financial services across Africa in the next 5 years? I think we just touched a little bit on
Yes.
Yeah, so now the additional part here is in terms of commerce.
In terms of commerce, same thing. I want to import some goods from Ghana, right? One of the biggest drawbacks has been how to pay the merchant, right? And it's not just about how to pay the merchant. Of course, you could walk into a bank and kind of try and make the transfer, but it's going to take some days. Even if it happens same day, there's going to be some fees attached to it. So whatever goods you're importing will be cheaper for you to import it from China than importing it from Ghana originally before now. Fast forward to 2026, I could simply ask a person to send me their stablecoin wallet, I send the money to them, and the transaction is done. Or use any platform such as Boundless Pay, and I can send Ghana cedis to the person from my Naira wallet. The person receives it, payment is done. You understand?
Yeah.
So, in terms of commerce, it's already doing a whole lot. It's already the world has become globalized. People in Ghana can easily communicate with people in Nigeria on social media, and money can change hands in minutes while they are still chatting. And thanks to stablecoin payment orchestration, and thanks to, should I say, stablecoin direct payment for those who now understand cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now let's look at regulation, which is a very integral part of Africa's crypto market. Regulators across Africa are gradually becoming more active in crypto. what does good crypto regulation look like from your perspective?
You know, regulation is all about setting the rules of how some certain things should be done so that the ecosystem is safe enough for everybody to play in, both the government and the people. It's rules. Now, the current regulatory framework that is available both in Nigeria and some other parts of Africa is not friendly enough for ecosystem growth and survival. All right. Why I'm saying that is that some parts of Africa today they say, I'll come down to Nigeria, right? Today they say, okay, we are accepting or adopting or allowing people to play in the industry, we are trying to regulate. Tomorrow, you're hearing that, oh, there's a blanket ban, you know, and all that. It's happening across Africa, including Nigeria. Recently, we have seen some level of acceptance and regulatory alignment in a way in Nigeria, right? There are some companies that have been given you know, license to operate, not like the full license, provisional licenses to operate across Nigeria. But the thing is that also every now and then they come up with some, should I use the word proposal or some improvement to the light to this thing that, for instance, in the last one that came out, they said that for you to be able to operate as a startup, you need paid up capital of a certain amount, which a typical startup in Nigeria does not have the financial wherewithal to be able to acquire such and have such capital, operating capital, and also I think the cost of the license itself is also on the very high side. Okay, so I don't think the regulatory framework available now is, you know, at par with the reality on ground. I feel like, you know, if you look at the way they did it in UAE, right, which is a market I'm very familiar with, and I guess in the US, there is, the capital market is mature enough to, and liquid enough for any innovator that thinks they want to solve a problem to tap into. You are tapping into expertise, you are tapping into a conducive environment to build, you are tapping into enough money. I can say Silicon Valley, some people just raise with an idea. You've not built, you've not done anything, somebody is giving you money for you to build.
Up to 6 million, 10 million.
Do you understand? in Africa and then in Nigeria, you literally use your money to build it up because you want to prove that you know what you are doing, and that thing will be there glaring, like very clear, you know, international standard. And there's still no money for you to, there's nobody is funding you. There are no investors, there's no, you know, I mean, tough environments. And then on top of it, the government is not caring about that. They are not coming up with stimulus. They are not coming up with opportunities for people to build us, be able to express themselves. Then they are giving you a very tough regulatory environment to work in. They are telling you that you have to pay 2 billion naira for a license. No, it doesn't work, right? If you have provided an enabling environment and you provided a very liquid capital, you know, access to capital, right? Then you can say, okay, having done all these things, go build, raise money, come and pay for license. It will now make sense. So that's my thoughts about the whole policies and regulation. I think the government needs to really understand what the market needs and tackle those things. If it's to give builders, you know, tax holidays, if it's to allow people to come into, you know, what do you call that thing now? a sandbox environment and build within that sandbox. They came up with that idea, but they didn't carry it. I'm not sure it's actually working, right? Allow people to grow, give them access to capital while they are still in that sandbox as part of what you are giving to them for them to grow. Then, once you give them that support, you can be sure that they'll be able to get enough funds to be able to pay for license and the rest. So I think we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, indeed we do. So moving on, you've worked closely with founders across the ecosystem. What mistakes do African crypto startups make repeatedly when trying to scale?
There are multiple mistakes. Scaling too quickly without being prepared for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Any purchase for that?
You know, scaling too fast can be the end of your business. Like it can be the beginning of the end of your business. And what I mean is this: you are currently on a budget. That budget is enough to pay 7 employees, right? Maybe 1 customer support, 3 developers, 1 marketing person, and all that. It's enough to also pay for your servers within the capacity you are currently operating. And then you go and you scale to the point that how do I put it now? Maybe you originally are able to sustain 100,000 customers, right? 100,000 users, and you do a campaign that automatically scales you to 1 million users. Now you have to upgrade your server. Now 1 customer support is not enough to attend to the numerous
number of persons.
Yeah, complaints and all that. Your developers are now on their toes to meet up with, okay, I need to fix this, I need to upgrade this, I need to do that. So what will happen is that people are going to come to your platform and the loopholes would
be exposed.
Yes.
And then it takes people away
from your platform. Even with that kind of skill, hackers will come rapidly.
Yeah.
So scaling requires you have to plan your scale. Okay, I have 100K now. We are ready to scale to 120K, 150K. You systematically do it. Like the curve has to be a curve. It shouldn't be like a spike.
Planning to spike beyond that.
Because I've seen people who have scaled unplanned, and that was the end of the business. Now you start looking for investors, and we need to scale our server because the number of customer base that comes into your platform does not equate. Let's say number of users does not equate number of customers. You might have 100,000 users, but your customers, paying customers, are just 5% of it. And when you scale too fast, for instance, the typical example, the platform, they were doing really well, and then they did this giveaway. Register and get $5. They attract people who came for the $5. It was in token. They gave the $5 in token. They attracted in 2 days. In 1 day they got to 50,000 customers. In 2 days it reached 100K. In 2 weeks they already announcing 500K customers. The platform is no more. Should I mention another? There's one called. I don't want to mention it. So scaling too fast. I know examples of that. That's one thing I'll tell builders. Number 2, knowing when to raise. Even though these days, everybody is feeling the heat. Trying to, even though you try to start raising long ago, there's no money in the market. It's a big problem. But typically, knowing your runway, that's how much you still have left and how long it will still take you, and preparing ahead of that time to start talking to investors or start optimizing so that you don't run out of funds. You understand? It's another thing very important for builders. What else? hiring the right talent, right? It's not about your family members or your friends. You know, in my early days building business, I used to make that mistake. You know, trying to save, and then you get people that are cheap. It never works, because the cheap people will give you cheap service, and that cheap service will cost you more money. You understand? So, but if you try as much as you can, even if instead of hiring 2 persons, use that money, get 1 professional person, you reap the benefit of hiring a professional person to work with you.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for that. So, if you're launching a crypto startup in Africa today, what would you focus? Payments, stablecoins, AI and crypto, infrastructure, or tokenization?
Infrastructure.
Okay.
It always wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you buttress a little on that?
Okay. So I'll give you a very typical example. If you build a customer-facing application, you are burdened with the task of attracting 1 million customers, because it's a game of numbers, right? If you build an infrastructure, you are burdened with the task of looking for at least 10 businesses that are already burdened with the task of bringing the million people. So if you get only 10 or 20, and each of them are already spending to attract 1 million each, you're automatically serving 10 million customers. By proxy. So yeah, infrastructure.
So more or less like delving towards SES, software as a service.
SaaS, yes.
SaaS, okay. Fair enough. So now moving to your previous or event you pulled through, blockchain vibes, has helped build one of Africa's most recognized crypto communities. How important is community building in a market where trust is often the biggest challenge?
In our industry, community is everything.
Is everything.
Yes. So
especially in Africa.
Yes. Community is everything. You know, gone are the days when you build in isolation. If crypto is this crypto that brought the ideology of community.
Of community.
Yes, in the startup building. So yeah, it's as important as the startup itself. Your first set of customers will come from your community. Your first set of what do you call it? Feedbacks and testers will come from the community. The first set of referrals, ambassadors will come from your community. Then you can now start scaling outside your community. So it's important as a builder, be part of a community, right? Imagine you are part of like CoinAfrica. It has a community of 10,000 people, and I'm part of that community, right? Just as a part of that community, and maybe an announcement or an intro is made to those community, I already have a potential 10,000 people. I will use the platform, and from there we can start scaling. So that's important as
the company itself.
Yeah.
Awesome. So 5 years from now, what does success look like for Africa's crypto industry?
Very interesting question. 5 years from now, what does success look like in
Africa's crypto industry?
I think churning out, a good number of crypto unicorns will define our success.
Okay. Do you mean international players or local?
Nigeria, look, we are talking about Africa.
Africa,
Yeah. We have in Africa, we have about 8 unicorns.
Crypto?
No, generally.
Okay.
Yeah, we have about 8 unicorns. There is Moneypoint, there is OPay, Nigeria, there's Flutterwave, there's Andela, and there is
I think also called Paystack. Yeah, I didn't know it.
Paystack, yeah, or Paystack has been purchased. Yeah, and there is the owners of Verve.
Okay.
Yeah, InterSwitch. Yeah, quick InterSwitch. Yeah. So those are unicorns in Africa, in Nigeria, in South Africa. I think there are 4 Napsters, Wave, and a couple of them. Then we have some in Egypt, about 3. Now all these are, we call them Web 2, unicorns. But we don't have a crypto unicorn
Unicorn.
out of Africa yet.
Mm.
Do we?
No.
We don't.
No, we don't.
Understand? So for our story to make sense in the next 5 years, is at least let's have 1 or 2 or 3.
Do you think we can achieve that in 5 years?
Income.
Based on the current situation of crypto fintech currently.
Yes. So I think the fact that globally stablecoins have become a thing, right? Stablecoin based and focused blockchain startups can potentially can produce a unicorn in the next 5 years if regulation does not draw us back.
Okay.
Yes, I think we can. So for me, success in Africa for our industry will mean a number of unicorns. Until we achieve that, the industry is still little, right?
It's
not successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've actually answered the major questions for today, but just a bonus question: which African country is most underrated for crypto innovation?
Most underrated. Most underrated. When we say underrated, we are talking about they are doing something, but they are not being recognized for it.
Yeah. Or people are not just seeing the opportunities there.
Yes. Crypto innovation. Kenya is doing quite some things. Yeah. So I can't say for the entire Africa. I've not experienced some parts of Africa. So, but in terms of on the nets and on social media, people in different parts of Africa that I think they are doing some certain things, but people are not noticing them as much. I think Uganda.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do you say so?
I've been there. I've had meetings with people that are doing things in crypto.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I mean, nobody knows. Do you know the name of any platform in Uganda?
No.
People are doing things there.
Yeah, Molondo is from Uganda, yeah?
Yes,
Molondo,
exactly.
I think he's the next person we'll have on CoinAfrica. We need to tell his story.
You have his number, right? I guess
I have his number.
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, I think Uganda.
Okay, so I think next stop is Uganda, to hear from Uganda. Let's hear their crypto story.
Yes.
So thank you so much. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you for joining us, our able legend, Fragmentation, the visionary CEO of Boundless Pay, Blockchain Vibes,
Yes.
and now chairing the board of VASPA.
Yes.
We also appreciate your efforts towards the blockchain industry in Africa, and we hope you continue to do the same and empower other people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.